Detroit wanted to fire their GM as well as their team president, but yet Caldwell, and I know ownership is meeting with Caldwell, and I think our owner is actually speaking right now, but how to still have a job? And converse, if you're going to get rid of these guys and make wholesale change, that you would start with the head coach, not the GM team president.
Right, and already the offense coordinator. See, when the ship's going down, and me, you, and whoever, and as you're saying, Jim Caldwell's team, yes, had them, but team in total array, they're not leaving. And then they have an assistant, Terry Vance, a pretty good job waiting in the wings. So I think we're going to see all that Jim Caldwell's away.
What this Colts, and certainly under the hot seat, Luck has not played well, and hey, there's half a season to say for him to turn around very high. You're making is Pep Hamilton's kind of the goat for Chuck Bissett. I don't know while we had this was ranked in the top 5 under Hamilton's for that move.
Yeah, that's a desperation move. Pagano, good graces with the general manager there, Ryan Grigson came over from the Eagles. And I just don't know how much those two have clicked in the past. And let's face it, when Arians was the coach in interim there, he did kind of a better job than Pagano with his group, and the team was ascending. They just seem to be in total disarray. I know you talked about Andrew Luck and his injury, whether it's a shoulder, whether it's the ribs. They're just not playing well underneath him, and I think he is beat up. And, Pep Hamilton was Andrew Luck's guy. They came over from Stanford together, so this could be a tough off-season for Pagano if he does not turn it around.
All right, let's stick with the Eagles for a moment. Typically on Wednesdays and Thursdays, that's a big practice day for the Philadelphia Eagles, typically when Chip Kelly will decide with some nicked-up guys. I know he says that the team's going to determine who's going to play left tackle. You got Lane Johnson getting some reps. Peters is banged up. Hopefully they get Ryan Zendor Alonso on the defensive side of the football. But I want to start with Sam Bradford because, look, he is a lightning rod. We've been talking about it now for several straight weeks in the last month of the season because he just hasn't performed very well. And a lot of people believe he had his best game from a comfort standpoint in the pocket against Carolina. The numbers weren't gaudy, and again, the receivers have not helped him out this year. But I said this during the opening monologue. If they slip up against the Dallas Cowboys and he performs poorly, I think now you have to turn around, you have to bench him, and you have to go to Sanchez. You have to salvage the season, especially because the division is weak. And it's not about hurting feelings. It's about doing what's best for the football team. And I just think there's too much loyalty from Chip Kelly when it comes to Sam Bradford.
Yeah, Q, and this is going to be a tough call for him. But let's face it, it's Chip Kelly's reputation on the line. And if Sam Bradford cannot beat the Dallas Cowboys, they're very beat up at the quarterback position. Yes, they may get Des Bryant back, but they're not the same team without Tony Romo. If they can't beat them after a bye week and Bradford go in there and play a solid game, look for them to make a change now. Chip Kelly, as you're saying, at 3-5, if they lose this game, they're still in a race. And we know what Sanchez can do. He's a guy that can probably get them to 8 wins or so, and that could win this division. So this is a huge game for the Philadelphia Eagles. Then they have some winnable games behind that, Miami, Tampa Bay, at Detroit, and then, of course, they have the tough one coming up at New England. So, this is a huge game. That offensive line's got to do a good job. Bradford, surprisingly, has not been hit many times as many other quarterbacks there, given the disarray in the line. But, this is a huge game for the Eagles.
I want to go back to something you said. I don't always look at games as winnable. I mean, you can go down the schedule and you can say, yes, the Dolphins, the Bucs, the Dolphins playing a little more feisty with Campbell. The Buccaneers and Winston, he's going to have his moments as a rookie, but their defense showed up. They had the big win on the road against Atlanta. The Eagles get the benefit here because those are 2 home games. But what is the drawback if you bench Bradford and you go to Sanchez? I guess that's kind of the argument. No one's really talking about that. Like, everyone thinks it would be the worst thing in the world. This is not like Montana getting benched for Steve Young or Marino getting benched or losing, giving up 62 his last games or it's just or Farm and people think he was going to get run out of town in Green Bay. This is a 500 quarterback who, regardless of people saying he has the skill set or not, has not performed well this year, and the season's still in play. So it just seems like it's sacrilegious to say, oh, you're going to bench Sam Bradford. I just don't get that.
Yeah, and that's what the Chip bots are going to tell you. That Chip Kelly, let's face it, he's basically married to Sam Bradford because he traded Nick Foles, a guy who did an okay job for him at the quarterback position. He said that Sam is my guy. I'm going to go ride or die with him. Well, so far he's got 9 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and the guy, let's face it, he's looked lost in the pocket at times. And you're right, when you bring in Sanchez, they're going to have the same playbook. Neither of these guys are running quarterback. But let's face it, the big thing is turnovers with Sanchez, and we've seen that Bradford has produced a lot of turnovers as well. So, let's see if he can go out there and get the job done against Dallas. Maybe he gets a half, maybe he gets a whole game. But, Chip Kelly, if he wants to see the season, may have to look to Mark Sanchez.
And the Giants might be turning to JPP to try to resurrect that defense was just lifeless against the Saints. And conversely, the Saints have an awful defense. 2 things on the Giants. You watched that game the other day. I do think it's over with. But I do think that's a poor job. Throw a flag, pick it up, and then be influenced by the Saints scoreboard and the clock operator to throw the flag back out there. I want to ask you one question on that. Do you ever think there's going to come a time in the NFL where they do replay penalties? I'm not saying penalties that you think should be thrown and replayed, but penalties that are thrown, because the officiating as a whole this year, every team seems to get screwed each and every week in the NFL by these officials.
Yeah, Q, the face mask heard around the world, and it's something where they're going to have to figure something out, because these officials, I don't know if it's because they're older or what, they're just not keeping up with the action, and people at home are able to see it in real time because they have such great TVs at home with a lot of technology. So the NFL is going to have to take a hard, long look at this. I know they're suspending guys that are not getting the job done, but in the end, I think there is going to have to be some kind of greater replay, because some of these things are egregious and they're turning around games. Let's look at the that out of bounds in Seattle that shouldn't have been let go.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Hopefully they'll change it.
Yeah, a couple bad calls in the Pittsburgh game, the Kansas City game as well. Again, a couple minutes with Lloyd Vance on this Thursday. Rich Quinones here. We'll take you up to 2. We mentioned the Giants in that defense. No Prince this week. Beeson's still nicked up. Unga's still nicked up. Kennard looks like he's going to go. They're not going to get Beatty back from that offensive tackle position. But JPP, which is interesting because you would think just having him out there could really lift the spirits of this defense, even if it's 10 to 15 snaps. No one knows. No one has any idea what he's going to give the Giants. I think his presence is going to help them. But ultimately, this team still has to find a way to get a semblance of a pass rush. And more importantly, these secondary guys, I mean, they got to step up. Not only do they have to start chipping guys at the line, but they have to actually play in coverage. I can't recall a game where you had so many corners and DBs out of position against the Saints. So what do the Giants need to do to turn around the second half of the season?
Yeah, that was crazy. It was a fun game to watch, but as Giants fans, I'm sure the coaching staff, they did not want to see over 1,000 yards of offense on both sides for both teams. And it's a thing where, as you're saying, they do got to find a pass rush. That was always their calling card. They just are not getting home, and they got to get to the quarterback. Drew Brees had all day back there last week. And when I look at this team playing against Jameis Winston, yes, he's a rookie. They're going to have to get pressure on him, shut down Doug Martin, make sure he's not able to run the ball effectively, and that'll help that secondary. And maybe they should play some more zone. I know Spagnuolo's a guy that's aggressive and he wants to get after people with blitzes, but they have to just play a base defense and not just be so aggressive.
No, I agree 100%. Every time they did that, you can't do that. Look at the games that they lost, and look at the quarterbacks. Romo, and you have to throw Bradford into that game. Bradford, Breeze, and then Matt Ryan. And then the games that they won, Castle, Cousins, and the kid out of Buffalo, the young quarterback out of Buffalo, Taylor. So, again, you got to play to your strengths. It really is a mate. Look, if Tampa Bay goes out and scores 35 against the Giants on Sunday, just pack it in. Pack it in, pack up the bus, and just call it a day. I'm serious. Because they don't deserve. They don't deserve to even sniff the NFC East, let alone vie for a playoff spot. A couple more for you. We saw on Sunday night that the old man can still sling it, and I thought he had a great game. I thought Denver's defensive game plan really frustrated. Look, the two quarterbacks that I really believe don't like to get hit are Brady and Rodgers, even though they're all-time greats. They really don't like to have that pocket disrupted. And I know there are people out there saying, well, what quarterback likes to get hit? Now, you watch these two, when they really struggle is when they really get bombarded with a pass rush, or they have this exotic blitz schemes and they really like to be disrupted. But Very big win for the Denver Broncos, and it looks like now Peyton Manning has another toy to play with in Vernon Davis. How much of an impact do you think that trade's going to help Denver offensively?
Yeah, I was just talking to someone out there, and they're trying to acclimate him very quickly to the offense. He does have some knowledge of the offense they run because he's coming from a West Coast scheme. But I think this week when he comes out against the Colts, I think he's going to be called upon just to make a play here or there and pull the coverage away from the other tight end out there. So it's going to be fun to see him take a step out there. It may help Demaryius Thomas get open, not see as many double teams. But you're right, Peyton Manning looked a lot better, and he's coming back home to play the Colts in Indy and for the yardage record.
I'll tell you what, that might be a shootout. They might let Andrew Luck, if he's not on his back, throw it all over the place. Another big game on Sunday, Green Bay and Carolina. Of course, we just mentioned Green Bay coming off the loss. Carolina continues to win. They find different ways to win. Look, I know you're going to get on me. I'm still not the biggest Cam Newton fan, but that defense is pretty special. When you look at Carolina right now, aside from their undefeated record in the NFC, are they the most complete team in the NFC in your eyes?
Q, I can't say that right now. It's just they're so offensively challenged. I know Cam Newton's doing a great job moving the change, taking the hits that we saw Steve McNair making a pass, diving for a first down and taking a big hit. But you don't want to see your quarterback taking that many hits, and they got to find another playmaker. That drop that Ted Ginn had at the end of that game is just brutal, and I think they keep living on the edge, but it's going to be interesting to see how they play when they finally have to play the Falcons. These two teams don't like each other, and I know it's going to take a while to Week 14 when they play at Carolina, and then Week 16, but they have to have a more complete game to beat the Falcons.
How about the Oakland Raiders? I mean, I thought it was going to be a 3 to 5 year proclamation here with that Kit Carr, and he really looked comfortable in the pocket. They obviously have weapons in Cooper. The defense is making some plays. The Raiders had some big wins this year. I mean, and the one thing that I've noticed about the Raiders are they're such a sloppily played team at times with all these penalties, but it doesn't look like they're so outlandish in years past. They're not turning over the football. They're playing hard-nosed football. I mean, are they a serious threat to maybe vie for a wild card in the AFC?
Yeah, and if the playoffs started today, they would be in. So they're riding a 2-game winning streak. Going into Pittsburgh is very beat up. No Bell in this game. And the thing you have to like about Carr is he's not throwing interceptions, protecting the football, getting it down the field to his great wide receiver Cooper, and then the young Murray is the back there, is doing a great job as well. So this is a young team. Hopefully they can get the discipline, as you're talking about, cut down on the penalties. And I think they're going to vie right there with the rest of the AFC West for that second spot in that division.
All right, last one before I let you get out of here. I was a huge Johnny Manziel fan watching him in college. I don't know if he's ever going to have a career in the pros, but you get another look at him tonight with Thursday Night Football, the Browns and the Bengals. I'm just wondering, are they basically going to say, okay, Johnny, here's the football and do what you do best, and that's run around, that's improvise, that's just make some plays with your legs, extend some plays, and then if it's there, take a shot? Or had they, and I don't, how do I say this, have they dumbed down this offense for him tonight against Cincinnati?
Well, I think they're going to use the full playbook for him, but they're going to have a difficult time. The game's in Cincinnati, and the last time Manziel started there, he lost 30-0, and they were making a money sign, hitting him over and over again. So he's going to have to go out there, find Bainbridge, a guy who's a breakout player at the tight end position, maybe Benjamin Deep. They don't have a lot on offense there, so it's offensively challenged. He is going to have to make some plays, but I know the defensive line of Cincinnati is going to be coming after him.
Yeah, it should be an interesting game because you want to see the Bengals are 7-0. The Browns have nothing to play for, so they just might let loose there against Cincinnati and see if they can pull off the upset. All right, my friend, I appreciate it as always. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the games. We'll talk next week.
All right, Q. Thanks for having me on.
All right, you got it. Lloyd Vance, NFL Network.